Okay, let's just dive in. We're looking at a set of texts so self-referential, so meta. It feels less like we're analyzing literature and more like we're conducting a seance.
That's a perfect way to put it. The central question here is genuinely unsettling. What if the horror we read isn't fiction at all?
What if it's coded reportage, detailed accounts of things that haven't even happened yet?
Exactly. And that is the staggering premise behind these manuscripts we're looking at, all attributed to Edgar Allan Poe. They were supposedly found after his, very mysterious death in 1849.
And they don't just cover his final days, they claim to detail his entire experience after death.
Right. We have what feels like a trilogy. There's a prequel, a main manuscript, and then a sequel called the Posthumous Manuscript.
So our mission for you, listening to this, is to unpack how these sources just completely shatter the boundaries of identity and reality. We're going to get into some, frankly, terrifying ideas.
Ideas like the soul being fragmented, not whole, and this concept of memory remembering forward.
Right, so let's set the scene. It's September 1849. Poe is just a month away from his death. He's agitated, he's sick, and he stumbles into this strange little bookseller shop.
And the manuscript is cagey about the location. It's either Cypress Lane or Sepulchre Street. That ambiguity is, it's a first clue that reality is starting to fray.
The shop itself is immediately wrong. It's vast on the inside, and the books smell of decay, but also something else.
Yes, something sweet and corrupt like flowers left too long in a tomb. It's this beautiful but deeply unsettling atmosphere.
And the bookseller.
Yeah.
He's not just some random shopkeeper. He's expecting Poe. He even says he's read Poe's story LIGEIA 40 times.
And this is the pivot, the moment everything turns. The bookseller says Poe didn't invent LIGEIA.
He remembered her.
Yes, and he pulls out this black letter diary, dated 1770, with the name LIGEIA Usher inscribed on the cover.
So a story he wrote years ago is predated by a physical artifact. The wall between creation and reality it dissolves right there.
It does. The bookseller's point is that Poe's stories weren't fiction. They were transmissions. Or, and this is the core concept we have to hold on to, they were memories of a future he was about to live.
Okay, so let's dig into that prequel, the diary. We get an entry from LIGEIA that is just, wow.
It's chilling. She writes, "I have died again today, the 4th time this month. Each time I am reborn with less certainty of who I am."
She's a composite being. She says she's Morella, she's Berenice. She's all of his dead literary heroines in one.
And that's not just a literary device. The manuscript frames her as the anima mundi, the world's soul. She's less a person and more like the operating system for Poe's entire consciousness.
And her core philosophy is terrifying. The soul doesn't travel from life to life. It shatters.
It fragments. It scatters into different times, different people. Our identity, who we think we are right now, is just a temporary prison the soul builds for itself.
And this gets tied directly to Poe. There's a diary entry from 1772, decades before he was even born.
Right. LIGEIA writes about him. She calls him Edgar, the fortunate spear, and says he'll feel buried his whole life, buried in the sepulchre of linear time.
So his whole life is foretold. He's trapped from the start.
And his own subconscious seems to know it. He has this dream where he's in the library of all possible texts.
I can't imagine a more intimidating place for a writer.
No, I mean, every version of every story is there. The ones you finished, the ones you gave up on. LIGEIA's are there, and she tells him the only way forward is to stop writing and be written.
To give up control.
Exactly. And this leads to the invitation. The last page of the diary is dated September 1849, his present, and it calls him to a specific address.
Number 17, Rue de Noms Effacés, the street of effaced names.
And it comes with a warning. His drinking, his illness, they're just symptoms. The real problem is his body is failing under the weight of remembering what you have spent your whole life forgetting.
So he goes. He accepts the invitation to the House of Effaced Names.
And the house, like the bookshop, it defies physics. The inside is a long corridor lined with hundreds of mirrors.
And each mirror shows a different version of him. A crowd of selves.
It's the fragmentation made visible. He's not one person. He's a procession of possibilities all staring back at him.
LIGEIA is there as the hostess, and she confirms it. His stories weren't fiction. They were maps leading him to this exact spot.
She even explains the famous crack in the House of Usher. She says it wasn't a crack in a building. It was the split in Poe's own psyche, the gap between who he thought he was and who he really was.
They go into another library. This one is even stranger.
The Library of Unwritten Works. The books have no titles, just future dates, 1950, 2000. It suggests that every choice we make spawns a new reality, a new story.
And the terrifying part is that the story he's writing now, the manuscript we're reading, is the one that completes the pattern. It's the one that writes him into the afterlife.
But then he's interrupted. The devil appears.
This isn't some demon, it's the respectable Poe.
Yes, the Poe who became a clerk, who never wrote a single line. And he's chasing our Poe, trying to merge with him.
To create a compromised self, a paralyzed, mediocre version.
It's the ultimate threat to an artist. Not damnation, but irrelevance.
They escape to his study. And the window doesn't show a normal sky, it shows 3 moons. A clear sign they are not in reality anymore.
And under LIGEIA's guidance, he writes the final truth. I am already dead. I died in Baltimore on October 7, 1849. He realizes this whole place, this is the gap, the oblivion between life and death.
The double corners him. It offers him peace, a quiet end in a Baltimore hospital. LIGEIA offers him immortality, but he'll dissolve into pure narrative.
And he chooses neither. He asserts himself. I am a man who wrote stories, who made things. The last word of the manuscript is just enough.
An affirmation of his life with all its suffering, that it was sufficient.
So if that manuscript ends with his choice, the sequel, the Posthumous Manuscript, picks up right after. He confirms he died, but his consciousness is still there. It's in a place called the interval.
And what is the interval exactly?
It's a holding area, outside of time. It's where patterns of consciousness, that what the text calls the persistent ones, continue to exist.
So a persistent one is like the data of a person's identity, still running after the hardware is gone.
That's a perfect analogy. And in the mirrors there, he sees those other Poes again. The comfortable editor, the female Poe who went mad. But now he feels empathy for them, not fear.
And he finds he's not alone. He finds the society of echoes.
Yes, a community of other persistent ones.
Yeah.
And among them, his mother and his wife, Virginia. It's a very touching moment. They tell him they've been whispering inspiration to him his whole life.
They explain he has 3 choices now. The first is simple. Reincarnation.
Right, a clean slate. The second is mind-bending. He can join the architects and take part in the great work.
And the great work is what?
Maintaining reality. The manuscript claims that things like gravity, the speed of light, they aren't laws of physics, they're narratives. Stories that have to be told constantly by the architects to keep the universe from falling apart.
Wow. So the universe isn't a machine, it's a story being told in real time.
Exactly. The third option is to stay in the interval as a muse in the Whispering Gallery. But there's a danger to that.
Legacy entanglement.
Yes. They point to Shakespeare as a warning. He's been so overanalyzed for 400 years that he's barely a coherent self anymore. He's just a collection of interpretations. Thane can trap you.
And Poe rejects the architects. He says he's too much the poet of darkness to write the laws of the universe.
He chooses his own story. He chooses to stay himself, anchored by his love for Virginia and his mother. He chooses relationship over transcendence.
So he goes to work in the Whispering Gallery. He becomes a muse.
And his first big success is young French poet Charles Baudelaire. It's symbiotic. Poe sends the raw dread, the images, and Baudelaire gives them form.
But it's not all successful. The text talks about the cost of genius using a character named Howard.
Clearly a stand-in for H.P. Lovecraft. Poe admits he pushed him too hard, showed him cosmic horrors a human mind couldn't handle, and it led to his paranoia and death. The muse can break the artist.
This is also where he discovers that his characters,
Yes. In the collective unconscious, they become autonomous thought forms. LIGEIA is there, living her own life, talking with Hamlet. And she confronts Poe. She accuses him of trapping her in a story of endless death just for his art.
The creation is judging the creator. That's incredible.
And it leads Poe to a final realization about his own life. All the suffering, the poverty. It wasn't random. It was education. It taught him to see things that comfort would have hidden from him.
He even tries to project comfort, not horror, but he finds it difficult. The dark patterns he created in life are too strong.
So he decides to write this manuscript we've been discussing. Not for us, not for the living, but for the other persistent ones. And then he sends it back in time. A paradox for his doctor to find.
Which brings us to the final mystery. The last word he supposedly cried out on his deathbed, Reynolds.
And the manuscript gives us an answer. Reynolds wasn't a person. It refers to the explorer who championed the Hollow Earth theory. Reynolds was Poe's code word for the gap, the abyss you pass through from one reality to the next.
So at the end of all this, what are we left with?
I mean, what we've seen is a whole cosmology built on the power of story, a reality where creation is literal, where consciousness is just a collection of fragments moving through time.
And this manuscript isn't about his death. It's about his continued existence. As he says, it's Genuinely my consciousness, falsely attributed to my living hand.
He finally found peace with it. He accepts his new state.
His final line in the text is his acceptance. I am becoming a story. I am, and that is sufficient.
And this deep dive, it really leaves you with one final thought, taken straight from the manuscript itself. The house on Rue des Noms Effacés was never meant to be found by those who search for it.
Only by those who are ready to be found by it. What stories have you written or maybe just dreamt that might be waiting in the dark to find you?